Alright, you guys, so this video you're watching now, this short little intro, this is, right now it's November 15th. And then right after this thing cuts, we're going to be going back to November 13th. So right now, it's just a little glimpse of the future. I'm letting you know there are 4 videos to this segment. You have, if you're going to watch episode 1, of these my newest updates, there's 4 parts to it. In total, you have about 8 to 9 hours worth of viewing material ahead of you. So I'm saying if you're going to dive into any of this, you need to make sure you start from the beginning and you're not starting from part 2 or part 3 or part 4. If you're clicking on part 2 or part 3 or part 4 and you haven't watched part 1, you need to go all the way to part 1 and start from the beginning and not start later. Otherwise, you're not going to have any idea what I'm talking about. So this is just a little heads up, and I'm going to add this at the beginning of part 1, part 2, and part 3 and part 4 just to let you know you need to go to the beginning. So there you go. Yeah, so there you go. Okay. Alright, you guys. So this video that I'm making right now, just jumping into it, this video is entirely rated for mature. You need to be a mature individual if you're going to watch this, because if you're not a mature individual, or you're not aware of things that are going on in this world, and you've just been sleeping for the most part, this video might mess with your head. Okay, so just getting that out of the way, this video is rated M for mature, right? Okay. Secondly, I did try this recording yesterday, and I was having all kinds of camera issues that I've never experienced before. So I spoke for about 30 minutes and a total, and throughout that 30 minutes the camera kept it was stopping recording, and it wasn't letting me know that it was not recording. So I was speaking for like 10-15 minutes, and then the camera would make this weird noise like it's shutting off because it's been sitting idle for so long. So everything that I tried sharing yesterday, I only got like a few minutes actually recorded. So today is the following day, and I've had to reset because I was kind of frustrated about it. And it's really important for you to understand that as this video starts and throughout the duration of it, I don't know how long I'm going to speak, but there might be times where the video just stops abruptly. The video should only cut every 20 minutes, and like my traditional videos. But any other reason for the video just cuts randomly, and I don't eventually address it, well, if it's just cutting randomly, well, it's because there's something else going on around me. Some type of electronic, I don't even know really what to call it, but the things I'm planning to talk about in this video, by the end of the video, you might make sense of any types of weird things that happen with the camera, or if you all of a sudden there might be noises and distractions outside the van, or aircraft flying over, any kind of combination of distractions. By the end of the video, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about, but right now, at the beginning of the video, you might not have any idea what I'm talking about, and the whole point of me stepping back in front of the camera is essentially to let you know what I have going on, let you know what my current situation is. This is essentially an update. It's been just under a month since my last recording. Today is November 13th, right? So there's a lot of things that I'm prepared to say and talk about and go into discussion, and these things are real, and it's the things that I've been encountering since my last recording was uploaded. A lot of really messed up stuff, and depending on who you are as a viewer, and what your awareness level is in the context of how much you know about me and how much you know as far as what's going on around me, how long you've known me, how long you've known about my entire story. It's really just going to depend on you. At the same time, you might be somebody who this might be the first time you've ever watched one of my videos, and you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. So before I'm even going to get started, I'm just saying, if you're somebody who has never watched any of my videos, yes, you can proceed forward and watch this and hear what I have to say. But depending on who you are and what your life background is and what you're aware of, there's a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about that might just kind of throw you off, or might make you perceive me as somebody that has some type of mental health disorder, or I'm a schizo, or whatever you personally perceive based off of your own position where you have not heard my full story. So if you're only taking this if this is your first time watching anything from my channel, and this is the first video you're watching, well, understand, if you watch it all the way to the end, by the end, you're probably just going to think I'm somebody that has a mental health disorder. And that's entirely your thing to figure out. But if also at the same time you're a new person, this is your first time watching video, first time channel, okay, my recommendation for you is to go go onto my channel, go to the videos category, to where you can see all the videos on my channel, and scroll all the way down to the very bottom. You can watch from the very beginning, or you can just go to episode 1, Welcome to the Rabbit Hole. And that's what I'd really recommend, is you just start there. And understand, if you do start diving into my story, it is a time commitment. It's going to require a lot of your own personal time and your own effort and energy to make it through the story. But I'm just saying this now, if that's what you're going to do, just do it right. If you're going to do, it's just like if you're going to be reading a book. You can pick up a new book, say you're going to read a book or watch a new TV series. Traditionally, you don't just start on the last episode of season 6 or season 7 and you watch like the last couple episodes and then you're like, oh, I watched the show. It's like, no, if you're going to do it right, you got to start from episode 1, season 1, and work your way all the way up until the current, whether the whole show's over by the last season, or you might be caught up with the current, and then the show or the book, you're just waiting on the next book to come out, okay? That's my recommendation. Start with episode 1, then do episode 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then once you make it through the first 5, then you can start moving on to where you can watch me speak on camera, because at that point in time, you'll be familiar with a little bit of my backstory, and then through the next 18 updates after those first 5 episodes, you're just going to keep learning more and more and more about not only my story, but how my situation has been evolving, and you can understand where I've been these past 4 months. I've been living in my van. At the end of the month, that'll be 5 months completed. I've been in my van for 137 days. So I've been living full time in my Ford Econoline. It's only like 60 square feet living space. It's just pretty much like a bedroom on wheels. This is my bedroom, or this is my bed. This is just like a full size. It's just a sheet of plywood. All it is a sheet of plywood with a 3-inch mattress topper and 4 blankets. Okay, it's not even. I'm just under 6 feet, and the width of the van is like just a little bit over 6 feet. So I can hardly lay straight out. But this has been my living conditions for the last it's been almost 5 months now. Like I said, it's 4.5 months. Okay, so it's been about 4.5 months I've been living in the van, because today's November 13th. Okay, and it's been 151 days since my own father, Jerry Durgan, tried entrapping me. He tried having he did have Malaki drugged or sedated, one of the two, and somebody snatched him out of, I was living with my parents, so Jerry or my mom, somebody drugged my dog and sedated him, and then when I was upstairs, I was like in my bedroom, that's at some point, Malaki was downstairs, and at some point, I don't know who did it, but somebody snatched him out of the house. Okay. So, and then Jerry was trying to set me up to a whole mess. I'm not going into it right now because that's not the point of this video. But, it's been 151 days since my own father tried setting me up to get me locked away, sent to prison or a mental health institution had he been successful. But I navigated my way around that, and 2 weeks later, I ended up finding this van. I've already went over this, but it's almost identical to my old van that I had in 2017, 2018. Okay. So a lot of shit has happened. Okay. And this video, I'm entirely going to be talking about things that have been happening in my life, not on social media, but in real life over the past 4 weeks. And the purpose of this is to really give you an update as far as what my situation is now, and also to try and empower you with knowledge. If these things are happening to me, by having the knowledge that these things I'm talking about might exist in your own world, you might be able to start seeing or becoming aware of things that you may or may not be currently blind to, or you're just entirely ignorant of, or it's just something that you've never had anybody say any of this stuff, so therefore this is new information, but the information is resonating with you in some way or another, to where your perspective on what this world is, your perspective is going to, it's going to broaden. You're going to have a larger perspective, meaning by the time this video is over, you're going to be able to see things that you may or may not have been aware of. Bad things, bad things that are going on around you that you may just be completely ignorant of, just because you've never had access to the information I'm trying to share, nor anybody talk about this stuff to once I'm giving you the information, the video shuts off. You're in your own space, meaning you have nobody around you to control what you just heard. So your thoughts, you can be in your own space and you can think about what's presently going on around you in your just immediate life, and then you can go bigger, and then start looking about what's going on in the big scale. Not just you, not just your family, not just your community, but not just across the state, not just across the country that you live in, but across the world. Okay, there's things that are happening around me now that these things I'm prepared to talk about, you can use this knowledge to broaden your horizons in the context of your understanding of what the hell's going on in this world. Okay, that's my intentions. That's what and right now I've like yesterday I made the prayer, and then today I've also made my own prayers, but I'm going to do it on camera too. But I'm making my prayer that with everything that I'm, Heavenly Father, I'm asking Heavenly Father and my guardian angels and, angels, watchers, whoever, all these, the heavenly realms to help me deliver this message in the most clear and easy to understand way possible, meaning for you as a viewer, whoever you are, whatever your background is and whatever you're aware of, whatever your age, you will be able to understand what I'm saying, and you will be able to use this knowledge to not just benefit your own situation and your own I'm trying to break everybody free. If you just think about it, I'm trying to break everybody free from their own psychological brainwashing and indoctrinations and all this stuff. That my goal is to help you break free from all the shackles in life, to where in your mind you can freely think for yourself, and you can think critically for yourself, and you don't need the internet or the TV or somebody around you to tell you what to believe and what to think. You need to be your own thinker. You need to be able to discern and use your intuition and your gut feeling, and be able to, just be able to trust yourself over all things. You don't need another person to tell you or give you confirmation or tell you to agree with you. No, you need to trust yourself above all. But sometimes if you don't know the truth and you don't have all the information, well, sometimes sometimes if you have a bad perception and you're being told to trust yourself, well, essentially you're being guided down a wrong path. So, there's a line there. You need to become aware of all this stuff, and then at some point you got to start learning how to trust yourself and learning how to discern your own thoughts from things that are not necessarily your own thoughts, things that might be considered, spiritual warfare. Okay, so I'm asking Heavenly Father and my guardians to allow me to share this message in the best way possible, because it's going to be a lot of information, and to allow everybody to hear the word, hear these messages, and to use this information to benefit them in some way. That's my prayer, and just in Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Okay. So with that being said, the best way that I'm going to be able to proceed forward with this story is essentially, I'm not yet, I'm kind of working up to it. Right now we're still just getting into it. Okay, I'm just building you up to what this message I'm about to deliver. But essentially where I'm going to be picking up from is exactly where I left off from my last episode. So if you've watched the last episode, you should be aware of that and the episodes before that. And then now this is your most recent update. This video specifically is entirely, I'm speaking to my friends and supporters. I'm speaking to you guys and anybody that's kind of on that fence where you might know who I am, but you've heard bad things about me, you've heard lies, but you're not sure what to believe, so you're kind of just on this fence. Well, this video is for you guys to try and help you understand, again, what my situation is, but also to empower you with my own experiences. You might be able to use something out of it to help your own self. Okay, that's my intentions. You guys are my target audience. And then I also understand there's the bad guys. They're going to be watching this too, and the haters and all them. They're going to be watching it, and they'll be using everything I'm using against me in different ways. Okay, so that's a variable that I'm already aware of and am already considering, and I'm just acknowledging that. I'm aware of my haters and all the naysayers and all them. I'm aware they're going to be watching it too. So hello, you guys. I know you guys are upset I'm making another video, but okay, I don't care. But, this is who I'm talking to right here. Okay, so I have 3 minutes and 50 seconds left, so I'm just going to stop the video now, let the clock reset, and then we'll continue forward. Okay. Okay. So, as we get into this, one of the first things that I really need to address first is essentially I'm going to ask you one simple question. It's a very simple question, but there's going to be a lot behind it, a lot of information behind it, and it's going to depend on which side of the fence you're on before we even jump in. So the question is, do you believe in God? Do you believe in Heavenly Father? Or do you not believe in Heavenly Father? Do you believe in God, or do you not believe in any God, and you're essentially atheist or an agnostic, whatever? I'm not. This isn't anything about bashing you. It's a general question for you to think about. And before we jump in, it's all about, if you do believe in God, you're going to watch this video, and a lot of the information I share is going to resonate with you in different ways. But there's this other perspective where if you don't believe in God, whether you are an atheist, whether you are agnostic, or whether you just consciously deny the existence of God, but you are openly acknowledging, different, the paganism, or you acknowledge Satan or the devil or Baal, and you acknowledge that, but you don't necessarily acknowledge Heavenly Father or Jesus Christ. You can be anywhere in this side where you don't believe in God, whether because you just entirely believe in science only, and you believe in the Big Bang Theory and evolution, and the fact that you believe that Earth is billions or trillions of years old, and that life itself began with single-cell organisms evolving into multi-cell organisms, evolving into different varieties of fish and critters in the ocean, which eventually evolved into land mammals or reptiles and amphibians, and then eventually mammals came in the equation, and then eventually monkeys, and then eventually monkeys evolved into man. There's people who literally believe that. I used to be one of those, so, you know, I'm a walking testimony as far as at some point in my life, at some point in my life, at my worst of my worst, you know, if you think about my early 20s after college, I was as far away from God as you could probably possibly imagine. Okay, God was not even in the equation in my life. Jesus Christ was not in the equation in my life. The devil and Satan and, you know, good and evil didn't even exist in my life. I just perceived that, you know, this earth and everything came from some giant thing that happened in outer space, and we're just here because of, you know, random chance and natural selection and all this whole combination of evolution and all that stuff. I used to believe all that. Okay, so I used to believe all that. I used to be on this side of the fence. And then I have also, you know, if you watch my videos, like I've said, you will find the very exact point in time when I did find God, and everything that I did as far as starting to see what this world may or may not be, and then realizing that God probably, you know, I know he does exist, but I'm saying back then, it's like, holy shit, God might exist. Okay, well, and then at some point in my life, establishing this communication with God. And then at some point, you know, I started repenting, you know, mentally, psychologically, going over my mistakes and things I've done, you know, bad things I've done in the past, going over all of that mentally and having a prayer with God over it, and then confessing, and then asking for forgiveness. And then later on in my life, I've gone through periods of atonement, you know, doing different things, enduring different hardships, different struggles, different challenges, which has essentially been, you know, me confessing and saying I want forgiveness and all of this and wanting to get on God's side. Well, he's like, okay, well, if you really mean that, then you need to go through these hardships and prove it. So if you can go through these hardships and maintain your faith, then we'll start talking. Okay, well, I did all that stuff, so keep fast forwarding, and then at some point, you know, DMT came into my life, and then Dan came into my life, and DMT, and then, you know, I've talked about this, so I'm not going into detail, but I'm just briefly recapping as far as my life journey of being someone who once never believed in God to someone who, I mean, if you've watched my videos, you've seen me, I've claimed who I am. I've publicly claimed who I am, but as part of the game, part of my thing, I don't walk around announcing it all the time, whether out in the real world or on social media. I've only announced it a few times publicly, but other than that, I've just been incognito, if that's the correct word, you know, just kind of been flying under the radar while I'm observing, learning, and just kind of just witnessing what is taking place on this earth. Okay. So it's up to you, you know, I've already established who I am, and it's up to you to solve the mystery. Some of you know who I am. Some of you can literally just read my energy, and you automatically know who I am just based off my energy, right? So there is that crowd, and again, that crowd, everybody who knows who I am, and you're my friends, my real friends and supporters, you know, I don't have to convince any of you. It's not anything about proving anything. It's that you guys already know. And so right now, I'm literally speaking to you, and I don't care what they have to say or what their thoughts are on the matter, you know, as far as the bad guys. I'm literally talking to you guys, giving you guys an update. Anybody that's only plugged into me through YouTube is the only place wherever you're at in the world, this is the only place where you've been able to find me and hear my words. Everywhere else, you just don't know where I'm at or what I got going on. Okay, so this video is for you. If you've been wondering where I've been for the last month or what's been going on, this is my video for you. Okay, and so the next hour and a half, 2 hours, might go into 3 hours. I have no idea. I'm just freeballing this. This isn't scripted. This isn't an improv. You know, I'm just speaking from my heart. And it's up to you guys to hear me, or you don't. It's not up to me to prove anything to you. You either hear me or you don't. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Okay. So where I was going with this is, you know, there's that question: do you believe in God or do you not believe in God? And if you're on this side, the whole point of where I was going with this is, if you don't believe in God, for whatever reason, and that's your own thing. It's not for me to ask and then we go into details about it. That's for you to just psychologically ponder, you know, pause the video and just think about your reasons for not believing in God, you know. Okay, so think about your reasons for not. Okay, that's not the point. But what I'm saying is, if you proceed forward and you're on this side of the fence, understand I'm speaking to this half over here. They do believe in God. They acknowledge Jesus Christ. They acknowledge the Holy Spirit. They acknowledge the, Heavenly Father's kingdom up above. They know, they're slightly aware of what this world and reality is. Some know what it is. Some are kind of trying to figure it out. Some don't. But some know what this is. Okay. So this is to them. Okay. So if you're on this side of the fence, understand everything I'm about to talk about. You're probably going to perceive me as somebody who has mental health issues, or somebody that's a schizo, or somebody that's dangerous to society and should be locked up. Whatever, if you're on this side, that's probably what you're going to perceive. But if you're on this side and you do believe in God, and you understand that we're in a spiritual battle, spiritual warfare, you understand right now, in 2024, going into 2025, the entire world is one giant battlefield. In this reality and in another reality, it's like two realities stacked on top of each other. You wonder, people who dream, and you wonder what the dream world is, and you wonder what happens to you after you die, and there's other realms and dimensions. Well, there's a spiritual battle. It's happening in this world, and it's happening in this different place that your human eyes cannot see. It's happening, I'm in my van. It's happening outside my van. It's happening around town. It's happening down the highway. It's happening across the state of Arizona. It's happening across the United States. It's happening across Canada and Mexico and Europe and Asia and Australia and all these other countries and continents. All of it. The spiritual war is happening everywhere, and for the most part, a lot of the big plays and big things that are happening, our human eyes cannot see it. But at the same time, there's a lot of shit happening in this reality, in this dimension, the third dimension, this life that you have now. When you look outside your bedroom window or your living room window, or you're driving down the road in your vehicle and you're looking out the windows, that's this reality that you're in now. But it's like two realities stacked on top of each other, where there are things happening around us that we can't see, but it's happening. Okay, I've seen these places with my own eyes, or my spiritual eye, through psychedelics and DMT. I've traveled to different dimensions and places. So for me, I don't need to look to any man, any person here on this earth to tell me what is going on. I've experienced places, I've had information shared with me. I've had my eyes opened to where I understand what this world is and what it isn't. I don't have all the answers. I can't give you all the answers. I don't have any definite this or that, but I know enough to know that there's a lot more going on around us than meets the eyes, right? There's a lot more happening around us that our human eyes and our six senses, all of our human senses, our five senses and six senses, sight, taste, touch, sound, smell, and then you can go, I got a sixth sense, or a seven, people, whatever. I'm just saying there are things happening around us that our senses cannot tap into, but it doesn't mean it's not happening, okay? So if you're somebody on this side and you don't believe in God or anything, then you're going to perceive everything I share as absolutely crazy, and that I'm someone with mental health disorder. And again, I don't care what you think. Whatever helps you sleep better at night, go for it. But anybody who's on this side, well, if you are aware of spiritual warfare, or you've heard of the term spiritual warfare, but you're not really sure what it is or what it means, well, this video might help you understand a little bit more. A little bit more, or maybe a lot more. It just depends on you and what you know already, okay? So, as I dive into this, understand that a lot of things I'm sharing, I'm really discussing real things that are happening around me, and the things that are happening around me is a product of the spiritual warfare and the spiritual battles, both in this realm and other realm dimension, that are happening around me. From my perspective, from everything I've been going through, it's like I'm square in the middle. You think about evil and good, God versus the devil. I'm square in the middle of this battle. It's all happening around me. And as again, if you know who I am, if you're on the side and you know who I am, then that makes sense of why I am in the middle and it's all happening around me. But again, if you're on this side, then what I'm saying, you're just like, Brandon, you're fucking nuts. Okay, well, whatever your thing is, go for it. I don't care. But I'm explaining something to you. And again, if you hang on till the very end, stick around to the end, perhaps some of these things will make sense. That's my goal. I'm not expecting you to understand right from the beginning, because obviously some of these things take a lot of time and thought, and I have to paint the picture for you. I'm painting a picture, laying out the puzzle pieces, and I'm doing everything I can to help you assemble it. Okay? I can't make you think. I can't convince you of anything. All I can do is give you the information, and it's up to you to figure it out. If you don't want to, you don't want to think critically, that's up to you. Okay? That's a lot of words so far, right? So right now, you guys gotta understand. For me, I do believe in God. You know, I'm standing on head. If you're wondering where my position is, I stand on the side of Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and I am fighting against the devil, Satan, Baal, Baphomet, whatever name you want to call the head guy, you know, the head guy of evil, you know, the devil or Satan, you know, that's the head guy, and then you got all of his minions underneath them. Okay, so the devil, he's got his own army, and God, he has his own army. So on God's army, you got Heavenly Father, you got Jesus Christ, you got the archangels, you got the angels, and there are a whole bunch of other entities and things that you probably have no idea that are out there, but they're out there, and they're all fighting for, you know, the heavenly realms. Okay, so that's one side, and then on the other side you got the devil, Satan, whatever you want to call him. Then you got all of his minions, which can include witches, warlocks, dreadlords, and then all of the people who have sold their souls to the devil for their own materialistic gains or elevations in life. So just, for example, think about all the people in Hollywood, where you can literally get on the internet and look this shit up, where there are plenty of celebrities and political figures or whatever, people that are relatively famous, where at some point in time they have been recorded on camera discussing that, they've said it with their own mouth, that they have sold their souls to the devil in order to climb this little magical ladder to reach the position that they're at in life, where now they're rich and famous and they have all their heart's desires as far as money, materialistic things, status. You know, they're up higher in the status compared to everybody who's not rich and famous. All of them are, you know, you're the peasants. You know, you're no longer a peasant, now you're rich and famous. Those are people who have sold their souls, okay? You know, musicians, singers, actors, actresses, you know, those are just examples, right? But it doesn't have to just be Hollywood and that. There are people all across the world who have sold their souls for different things to get, you know, people who they have a career and they want to reach these higher layers within the career. They want to be like a CEO, or they want to be the top boss. And they, you know, at some point they conduct some type of dark ritual or blood ritual or ritual sacrifice, and they ask for Satan or the devil to allow them to attain their goals. And by, you know, once that contract is sold, well, that's you're essentially pledging allegiance to the bad side, okay? So you got the devil, you got his underlings, you got the fallen angels, all of them. You got, you know, the Forsaken, you got the witches, warlocks, dreadlords, and then all the sellouts, and then you got all the useful idiots who are essentially, they don't even know the devil exists, but they also don't acknowledge God exists. So therefore, these people don't acknowledge any side. So therefore, they're an easy target. Or they have no concept of spiritual warfare. They have no concept of good versus evil. These are just people who, you know, whatever their upbringing is in life, they just perceive this world as it is, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, so they get pulled into different plots, schemes, frauds. They get baited and tempted to take a bribe, or they get, oh, go do this for me, we'll pay you this, but they don't understand what they're doing. So those are considered the useful idiots. They will just pretty much do whatever, because all they see is, you know, bait. They just see some dollar signs or something flashy and shiny, and they will do whatever it takes to have that. They want it, but they don't understand what's behind it. So that's considered a useful idiot. You know, they will do the bidding of the dark side without even knowing about it. Okay, so that's pretty easy to understand, right? Okay, and then you got the opposite side. You got all of the heavenly realms, and then down here on earth, you have the people that are waking up to what's going on. There are people that are waking up to, oh shit, God's real. Okay, well, if God's real, I better start checking myself. I better, You know, start reviewing the things I've done in my life, and start, you know, contemplating the consequences of some of the things I've done in my life, where if I perceive I'm going to die without any type of consequence, and I've never asked for God's forgiveness or anything, and I've just been a shitty person. Well, once you acknowledge God, well, at some point you got to review your life and you got to confess and ask for forgiveness, and then you got to correct a lot of your behaviors and how you were living your life, where if you're standing up and joining God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit on that side of the fence, well, you can no longer associate with people who that you know for a fact, or you interpret them just by reading their energy, that they're serving the dark side. You have to cut all those cords and ties and go either entirely be on your own. If your entire company, everybody around you is on this dark side, well, it's essentially you got to cut all those cords and get the hell away from them. And if it means being on your own, then you got to be on your own. You can use me as an example and as a walking testimony. Okay, but at the same time, if your family or your company, your friends are all on this side, well, good for you. You know, it makes things a lot easier. If you got other people around you who also believe in God, you know, Heavenly Father, who also believe in Jesus, who also believe in the Holy Spirit, well, that's good for you. That makes things a lot easier for you. But there's also a lot of people out there who are not in that position, which makes things more difficult. But if you're really wanting to be on this side and you're waking up to the truth, well, if you want to show God that you're real and you're not just saying words and you're not walking the walk, you're just yapping your mouth, but you're not walking the walk and doing what you need to do, even though your conscience and your intuition and your gut feeling is telling you to do something and you're not doing it. Well, you got to understand, well, you're not really committing. You're like right in the middle, or you haven't committed yet. You're just calling and expecting for an automatic saving, automatic forgiveness or redemption. Like, no, if you want out, you got to walk the walk. Okay. So I'm almost out of time on this clock, so I got to pause for a moment, but I'm just going to keep going. I just got to reset it. Okay. So, with all that said, you know, we're probably, we're a little ways into it now, and I haven't even really got started yet, but, you know, hopefully I've got you all jazzed up. You know, if you're on this side, hopefully I got you all fired up and you're ready to hear what I got to share. So, I mean, there's more and more I can keep going on, and I guess the last thing I really should mention is, like, you guys remember, if you've watched the last episode, you heard me say that I'm not going to make any more videos until Jerry Durgan and his crew, or whoever's involved with him, that web, you know, that spider web of all these bad people, until all of them are addressed. I said I wasn't going to make any videos. Right? Well, understand, this is chess, not checkers, right? If you've watched that video, I have that. If you go scroll in my YouTube channel and look at all my videos, I have one called This is Chess, Not Checkers. It's the title of the video. If you haven't watched it, you really should, otherwise you're not going to understand shit. And that's the whole thing. Anybody that hasn't watched, you're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, but this is how I am existing right now, how I am living my life. Everything I am doing is entirely based off strategy. Every movement I make is a strategic move. So when I said that I was not going to make any more videos, that was a strategic move, okay? So for the past 30 days, you know, approximately, it's coming on a month since the last video went live that got uploaded. So we're reaching that month, and in that month, I have refrained from sharing anything on YouTube, even though I have wanted to talk and wanted to share and continue my story. I continue listening to my intuition, my conscience, this energy, you know, because I believe in God, right? So, and where I'm at in my life now, my spiritual energy, the me inside, my spiritual frequency is connected to God's frequency. It's this higher frequency. Everything is frequency and everything is energy. And you will, if you don't know it now, the day you die, you will find out everything is frequency and energy. This world, everything is energy, right? So, where I'm going with this is that I lost my train of thought right there. I feel like I was really about to go somewhere, and then it just kind of slipped for a second. Yeah, man, I need a second to rebound from this. That's kind of strange. Like I said at the beginning, There's going to be times where I might just be on something where a distraction or something's going to interfere and it's going to take me off train of thought. And again, at some point you will understand what this is. Okay, so just bear with me. Let's just reset that clock. I remembered. Okay, so where I was going with this is, when I said that I wasn't going to make any more videos, right? But now I'm making another video, and you're wondering, okay, well, are you going to stay consistent, or are you just going to be bouncing all over? Okay, so understand, on that last video, and I said I wasn't going to make any more, if you also remember in that video where I was talking about some pretty serious things, I said that, Jerry Durgan, my own father, would get very upset with all of these things that I'm sharing, and given the opportunity, he would try murdering me or having me disappear, setting me up in a different way. So I established that in the last video. So once that video went live, okay, that was pretty much me challenging the dark side. I'm challenging the dark side. I'm consciously egging them on and provoking them, making them angry on purpose, because I know they're watching these videos, and I'm telling them, like, bring it on, bring your worst, whatever you got, send it, because everybody who's involved with this, everybody who's aware of my side, who's fighting on my side, everybody who's on the bad side that's fighting for the devil and them, and they've been fighting against me, well, I'm saying everybody's getting tired of it, right? Both sides, everybody's getting tired of this whole thing getting dragging out for all these days, weeks, months, and years. Like right now, once we reach March 2025, it will be 7 years since I met Dan Schreck, and then did DMT at his house, and then found out who I am, and then he found out who he is, and then this seal broke. There's things I wanted to talk about Las Vegas, but anybody who believes in the seals, the 7 seals and the rapture and all this stuff, well, the seals have already been broken. I was there when it happened. Those seals have already been broken. The 4 horsemen of apocalypse have already been released, and if you just start looking around at the signs in the world over the past 7 years, if you just look at the gradual escalation of wars and rumors of war, that's been escalating. And then if you look at where we're at today, we're on the cusp of going into WW3, with every single country around the world is essentially just about to start. Things are about to go fucking wild. But those seals, so war's already been loose, right? The Antichrist has already been loose for a long time, because, if you think about everybody who hates Jesus Christ, everybody who hates Heavenly Father, everybody who's on the dark side, that energy and that spirit is already out there in the world, and you got all these people who absolutely cannot stand hearing the name, just hearing the name Jesus Christ gets them fucking worked up and pissed off and upset, right? So the Antichrist has been let loose, war has been let loose, pestilence, where it comes to disease and famine, all that stuff, that's been out there. And if you just think about what happened, you guys think what happened during around 2020, right? 2020, that thing that spread around the earth, and all these people got sick and died, and then all of a sudden there's this other thing that they introduced where if you got it, injected into your blood system, that it would defeat this thing, that's spreading around. You know what I'm talking about, what happened in 2020, and then around 2021, then you had the thing that came out, and they're making it mandatory that everybody gets it or they get unemployed. Right, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to label it because I don't want my video to get shut down, but you know what I'm talking about. So pestilence has been out, disease and sickness and famine and all that. So that's been happening. And then obviously death. Death, the 4th horseman, death has been out too. If you think about all the people that have died on account of the wars, all the disease and all that shit, right? And just everything, there's so much death. So the 4 horsemen have already been let loose. The seals have already been broken 7 years ago. I was there and I saw it happen before my eyes, right? And it's a matter of whether you believe me or you don't believe me. That's not for me to prove you. I'm just letting you know it has happened, and all you got to do is just look at the signs around you as far as what's going on in this world, and look at how close we are for things to just really the whole thing just crumbles as far as everything that's going on, what we know as society and how this world works and operates. Everything's just going to go topsy-turvy, and everything's going to just flip on over. And everybody's, if you're paying any attention to anything on the world, it's not that hard to see, okay? And then the fact that me personally, I have met the devil. I have met the devil. I've sat with him many different times. He's told me who he is, and I've looked him in the eyes from this far away, and I've seen his pupils, where his pupils are like a snake eye or a cat eye. They're vertical pupils. And I've asked him about it. He's acknowledged it. He's allowed me to lean in closer and look at him closer. And yeah, okay. So I've already met him, and I know he's real, and he's got all of his followers, and they're the ones that have been coming after me. They're the ones that have been fucking with me. They're the ones who have made my life a hell. They're the ones who... How I'm still alive, the only reason I'm still alive today and roaming free, walking free, is because of God. My Heavenly Father has been protecting me and has given me the resilience and the strength and perseverance to continue taking it. Some days I can only take one step forward at a time. Other days I can just fucking run and make a lot of progress. But everything they've thrown my way, even if they've knocked me down, I've gotten up and I've overcome everything that they've thrown at me, and I'm still going. I'm still alive. I haven't committed suicide. I haven't hurt anybody. I have not been committing any physical violence, so I haven't fallen in any of these traps as far as giving law enforcement or anybody enough probable cause or justification to come out of nowhere and put me in handcuffs and haul me away. I haven't given them anything. All I've been doing is try to take care of my dog and try and take care of myself, try not to break laws and rules, and be respectful of everybody I encounter. Every single person I encounter, I treat them with respect. I don't get in conversations with anybody, really. I've been in my van. I've been in my van for 137 days. I've driven, just the other day, I passed the 6,700 miles. So in the past 4 months, I've traveled 6,700 miles. All of the different people I've crossed paths with. I hardly even talk to anybody, with exception to just small talk, like, hello, how are you, how's your day, have you had a nice hike, or where are you from? But beyond that, I don't tell them anything. I don't give them any personal information, because if these people don't know who I am, there's nothing I can say to them in a span of 15 minutes to an hour that is going to show them anything important. They're in a span of 15 minutes to an hour, all that I will do is scare the shit out of them, because they're not going to have anything. So that's why I'm doing this channel, telling people to start from square one and work your way to the most recent video. So in the real world, I'm not going out there telling anybody anything that I got going on. So I'm not giving anybody any reason to believe that I'm a schizo or crazy person. I'm pretty much I'm trying to be as normal, try to be just like everybody else. Normal, just going about my business. My day in my van right now involves, I wake up before the sun. I wake up before sunrise. I get up, let my dog go to the bathroom, and then once he goes to the bathroom, I get in my van, or get in the driver's seat, fire up the engine, and drive to the nearest bathroom. Somewhere where I can relieve myself. After that, I eat some small little breakfast, usually a couple bananas. Right now I don't really have much money, but right now it's just eat a couple bananas or a Nutri-Grain bar or a donut. And then after I get a little food in my stomach, I go take Milwaukee on a bike ride. And then the rest of the day, I just as far as this last month, I've just kind of just been hanging around, not really doing much, and I'm just watching YouTube videos, or taking Milwaukee out, going on hikes, or just observing. Wherever I'm at, I'm just observing, watching, doing nothing to give anybody any just reason to come and arrest me, because I'm not doing anything. I'm not hurting anybody. All I'm doing is just sitting around, and I'm waiting and observing every day. And then, make it through the afternoon, then sometime late afternoon, sunset time, I go take Milwaukee on another bike ride. So in total, throughout the day, he gets between 6 miles and 8 miles as far as being able to run and burn his energy. So he's always, he's always in a good mood and happy, and then when I'm busy and stuff, he's just chill. He just chills all day long when I'm trying to do things. He gets his exercise, and then I get my stuff, and then, there's times where I gotta take care of my hygiene. I gotta shave, so much that I'm doing, just as far as just trying to exist without creating issues for anybody. The only issues I am creating is by speaking in front of the camera. By speaking, as far as I'm concerned, I am speaking the truth, and so there are times when I have a perception of something I might not be accurate, but I'm only not being accurate because nobody has ever stepped forward to tell me, Brandon, this isn't it's over here. Nobody's filled me in with any information. It's been, ever since I met Dan, it's been 7 years where not one single person has come forward and give me a single answer to any of my questions. So from my perspective, I'm just operating off of what I have experienced, learned, observed, heard with my own ears, seen with my own eyes, and whatever conclusions I come to, it's based off my best assessment. I'm trying to find the most accurate answer or the most logical explanation possible. Whether or not I'm 100% accurate is not really the point, but I'm trying to find the truth as best as I possibly can. And if somebody else can come out and just help me get even closer, the better. But as long as I'm getting close, sometimes that's enough. Sometimes being close is enough to at least allow you to proceed forward with a general understanding of what the situation is. I hope all of this is making sense. I'm trying to speak slow and enunciate my words so I'm not kind of just blending everything together. But all the same, it's a lot of information. Okay. With all of that said, I have decided to make this other video because after I declared I was done making videos, I have been in a state of observation, sitting back, waiting and anticipating the opposition, the bad guys, my own father, Jerry Durgan, he's part of it, and then whoever else, I don't know their names and faces. I know Dan might be, but Dan might be on my side, he might be something else, but at the same time, he might not. As far as I'm concerned, Dan, Jerry, Kelly, and probably most of my own family line, they're all on this side. Nobody's ever given me any reason to believe that they're on my side. Right now, it's all of my Durgan family, and then you got Dan and Kelly in there, and then all these people who have no idea. So, considering that I challenged them on the last episode, this past month, whoever's involved and they heard that challenge and heard me taunting and egging them on, these past 3.5 weeks, we're going on a month, they have made multiple attempts, and they are continuing to try and get to me in different ways, even to this day. And I am what I'm planning on doing is just continuing from where I left off on the last episode and talking about the things that have happened since then. Okay, so understand these things that I'm talking about. It's not me making it up. It's not me being a schizo. It has nothing to do with me being paranoid or delusional. No, I've just been sitting back and observing, and these are things that have happened. Okay? So, right now, and then, at some point, you might understand what I'm up against, and at some point, maybe you might see what I'm up against, and you might be appalled with it, you might be disgusted with it, and you might be very much ashamed of the people who are part of it, where at some point you might be inspired or motivated to go do something about these people if you know who they are. If you're somebody in law enforcement or military and you know who's part of it, maybe I might inspire you to do something about it. But if you can't do something about it right now, I also understand that, but maybe I might inspire you to maybe send some resources my way, because I'm literally broke right now. What I'm going to be talking about in this video is I've been panhandling. I'm out of money, and I've been panhandling to make my money, in order to buy my food and pay for my fuel. So maybe by the end of this video, you might be somebody who will reach out to me or blindly donate to my, you might be somebody who will reach out to me and ask me what you can do to help me, or you might be somebody who doesn't even talk to me, but you just anonymously follow my PayPal link and go to my PayPal and donate some resources. That way I can continue feeding myself and feeding Malaki, my dog, and putting fuel in my van and continue proceeding forward. Okay, that's what I would like to see happen, is getting some friends and supporters who understand that I'm in a life or death situation right now, and right now is really the time for people to step up and start helping me however they can, because I don't have much time left. I already know it. It's just that's part of this, this video I'm making. It's this energy, God, Heavenly Father. He's telling me, I went this whole month not doing any videos, and now he's telling me, now's the time, Brandon, to make the next video and let people know what's up. Because it is true. I'm flirting with death every single day. The kettle's hot, so to speak. I've got a lot of heat on me in the sense of the devil and his minions, and the bad side. They're doing everything in their power to get me frustrated, upset, angry, depressed, just trying to fuck with my emotions in a different way. And they're also trying to starve me out by cutting out my ability to make any type of money whatsoever. That's what they're trying to do, and I'm aware of it. And now, after witnessing and observing everything that's happened in the past month, now God, Heavenly Father, he's starts shouting at me, let me know it's time, Brandon. You need to make a video. And at some point, once I'm done speaking, I don't know, I know I still got a ways to go, but once I'm finally done, I got to go into the video editing and get it all compiled, and then I got to go to the library and get it uploaded. So it's going to be a process. And right now I'm just putting in this time to throw, this video will be something I send out to the universe, and maybe at some point something positive will come back to me and allow me to continue forward in a constructive, positive way, to where I'm no longer on the edge of starvation and poverty, where I'm completely broke and homeless. Maybe I start having resources where, now that I have what I need, I can start giving back in abundance. You guys hook me up, you help me out with a little bit of money, whatever you can afford, to where I don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat today and what I'm going to eat tomorrow, where okay, the next few weeks or the next month, I'm good on my groceries. I'm good on my fuel costs. Okay, I literally don't have to worry about any of this stuff, meaning I can literally spend my free time speaking in front of a camera and filling you guys in on anything that's worth talking about. Not just about my story and things that I've encountered, but also there's so much more beyond my own story, where I just know a lot of stuff as far as what's going on around the world, spiritualism, connecting with God, what you need to do to get on the right path. There's so much I could talk about that has nothing to do with my own life, but all of this stuff I haven't even scratched on that stuff yet. I've been trying to finish the story. My goal was to tell my whole story, and then once I was done telling the story, that's when we would really start talking about other stuff that has nothing to do with me, just about the world and things that can help each of you, empower all of you with knowledge and truth, so each one of you can break free from your own darkness, your own toxic things, your own whatever demon, if you've got your own demons that you're fighting, I could help you with that. And I can also provide ideas and solutions for things that are happening around the world, so we can see some real positive changes. That's what I've been trying to do. But, me being me, and me being on this side, and the devil not liking me, and the devil actually hating me, and trying to just destroy me, absolutely destroy my life, and just make me commit suicide. That's been his goal. So obviously he's angry, right? So he's really angry. So we're in the spiritual battlefield. It's this side versus this side. I'm standing in the middle trying to deliver the message, so everybody who is on my side and everybody who doesn't know, all of us, we rally together and we fight back. We fucking annihilate them. That's the goal. We're just going to put them in their place and send them back to where they belong. That's the goal, okay? So I feel like that's, so that's the reason why I'm making this video, is because I said I wasn't, and now the bad guys have been trying to take the opportunity, believing that I'm done making videos, so now they've been trying to get to me, trying to make me disappear. That way everybody doesn't know what's been going on, and I just magically go off the radar, right? So, but they haven't succeeded. I'm still alive, and I'm still here, right? So now it's your guys' update. If you guys have not been following me around, you're not tuned into me, and this is your next update, well, now you know. I'm going to tell you about all kinds of weird shit that's been going on over the past month. So that's my conclusion. So this is where we're really going to just dive in. And I'm making this video just to let you guys know, and also to make the bad guys angry. They're going to be very angry with me with making this, because I'm just going to be exposing the shit that they've been doing that they don't want anybody else to be aware of. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to take a break. I've been talking a lot, and then I will be really just getting into this. So get prepared. If you need to take a break, go take a break. Alright, so it's been about half an hour. Took a break real quick. Went and took Milwaukee for a little bit of a walk. Not very far, but, and then I was having camera issues when I got back. It was having an error. So, before we really dive in, you guys might be wondering, Brandon, why are you in your van? Okay, well, I'm in my van because I'm tired of having distractions. I'm tired of doing stuff outside and just having things happen around me where whatever it is, it's something that pulls my train of thought in a different direction and takes me off track. So that's one reason why. Another reason is concerning my location. There's not really many private areas to just go freely talk without people just lingering around and listening to what I'm saying from a close proximity. So I'm essentially just getting the work done from inside the van where I can kind of minimize all of that extra noise. So that's the biggest reason right now. And with that being said, I feel like I've really covered a lot of things. You know, it's one of the longest intros ever. You know, almost an hour-long intro. But now I'm gonna really be getting into the things that have happened since October 16th. Okay, so you know the last video that you watched, it ended. You know when it ended, and you know the date was October 16th. Today is November 13th, so it's been about a month, right? So I have personally covered I've driven another 1,000 miles since then. You know, in a month span, I have another 1,000 miles added onto my odometer. With that said, let's begin with October 16th. So if, you know, I'm just, as a viewer, I am assuming, for you as the viewer, I'm assuming that you have watched all of the videos that I've shared, and you've also watched the latest one, not this one, but the one before it, so you know where it's left off, and you know everything I said. Okay, so that should all be in your memory, and that's where we're picking up from. Okay, so if you can just imagine everything that you've heard from the last episode, and then I've been gone for the last 30 days, and if you're one of those individuals who have been wondering what has happened since then, well, this is where we're going. So that day, when I literally stopped recording on my camera, you know, I was out in the desert. I was about 40 miles away from Moab, Utah. Okay, I was at a location called Dead Horse Point State Park. Okay, probably about 3 or 4 weeks prior, I spent $125 on a Utah State Park pass, meaning for the next 12 months, while I'm in the state of Utah, I can go to any state park without having to pay their daily entrance fee, right? So I just flash my state park pass and I can just drive into the state park and then spend however much time I want there. You know, I can't camp there unless I pay for the camping fee, but during the daytime, during daylight hours, I can more or less spend however much time I want at any given state park. I can go on hikes, I can use the picnic areas, and I can, you know, however I want, because as long as I'm being respectful, I'm not leaving trash or making noise, and, you know, just as anybody else, right? So just use that knowledge. I have a state park pass, and then on October 16th, that last recording, I did that recording inside, I found a private little area inside Dead Horse State Park, Utah, if you feel like looking it up on the internet. I'm just giving you the exact location, which is about 40 minutes away from Moab, Utah, if you've heard of that place, or you can go look it up. So that'll give you the general idea of where I was, okay? So that afternoon, I hung out at that state park for probably about 3 or 4 hours total. I did photography beforehand. Before I started speaking on camera, I walked around with my dog and did a bunch of photography, and then eventually I wandered back to the van, got out the tripod, set up the camera, and then I did my speaking, right? Once I was done talking, I packed up my stuff, And then I drove all the way back to Moab. I had already been there. You know, I think I had been there for about 2 or 3 days. Up until that point, I'd made it to Moab. 2 or 3 days went by, and then I eventually went to Dead Horse State Park and did the recording. So I went back into Utah, went to the public library, and I parked out, you know, in the parking spot off the main, you know, off the street. There's designated parking spaces. So I parked in one of those spaces, right? And then from that point, I believe I just went into the library, and then I compiled all the video together. So do all the video editing, get the video compiled, and then I go in the public library, get on their Wi-Fi from my laptop, and then I start to get on YouTube and start going through the process of uploading it, right? So it was around, the video was around 2 hours. You know, all you gotta do is go back and check that. So it was around 2 hours. Well, the upload time for me getting that on YouTube, it was like 8 or 9 hours, right? So 8 or 9 hours. So how am I gonna get it on YouTube without just having to sit there for 8 or 9 hours? Well, I'm just letting you know, when I went to the library, it was approaching early evening. It was like 5 or 6 o'clock, right? And the library was open until I think like 8 or 9 p.m. It was open late that night. So I stayed at the library just hanging out for probably like 2 or 3 hours, just letting the upload process start. Okay, so, but I still had like 6 or 7 hours to go. But the library closed, so the only thing I could do was I kept my laptop open just so I could maintain that internet connection. And then I walked out the front door of the library, walked around to where I was parked. So I'm parked outside the library in a parking space. And I just get in the van and leave my computer sitting on the chair. Okay, so I'm leaving it on the chair, and my computer can pick up the Wi-Fi signal from the library. Okay, so it's only like, you know, there's like 3 or 4 bars total as far as your connection. I was like 50% connection, so it was enough to maintain that upload, so I didn't have to cancel it or anything. So so considering you know, as my project, it's something I'm working on. I didn't want to. I just ended up sleeping there for the night, so I just left my computer open, and I just didn't leave. I didn't fire up my van and go drive off to some random place and go sleep out in the desert or something. No, I just stayed. There were literally no signs that said no overnight parking. Where I was parked, there was all these parking spaces, and there's no sign that says no overnight parking. Okay, so I wasn't necessarily worried about illegally parking. There's nothing there to say that I'm illegally parking. I'm just, you know, I'm going somewhere with this, so just be mindful of that. So I sit there, you know, at nighttime. I'm on this bed. It's dark. It's all dark in the van, but my computer's in the front seat, and it's going through the upload process. Around 11 o'clock, or 11 p.m., right? I for some reason, I checked the progress on the YouTube, because I was about ready to go to bed, and I was just going to leave the computer and turn off the monitor, but leave the computer active and just let the upload process resume, where hopefully by sunrise it'll all be done with, and then I can just wake up and continue my day, right? Just go about my day. All right, so around 11 p.m. when I checked it, suddenly there's no Wi-Fi connection. There's no Wi-Fi connection. The video is no longer uploading, and it's around like 50%, 55%. And so there's like another 4 or 5 hours that I still need to sit there. Well, for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi connection entirely just got cut off. My computer could not even sense it on the list. You know, when you start looking up available Wi-Fi connections within the area, the library's connection was not even working anymore. Okay, like my computer wasn't picking up on it. So I was kind of bummed out. And I'm like, oh, and I was also kind of stressed out a little bit, hoping that all this time I'd spent uploading it, I hope I didn't have to start over from square one tomorrow and have to invest another 9 hours or so, right? So, but I just let it go. Okay, there's no internet, there's nothing I can do, so I shut the computer, and I eventually just went to sleep. I went to sleep with the impression that I was going to have to start over. I was kind of bummed out and frustrated, but there's nothing I could do about it. So I didn't fire up the van, and I didn't leave. I just slept where I was, because I wasn't going to it was dark, and I wasn't going to just go drive off not knowing where I was going, because it's a liability and it's a risk. It's an unnecessary risk. the following morning at sunrise, I woke up, I woke up before sunrise, and I literally fired up my van. First thing I wake up, I just hop out of the van with Malaki, let him pee on a bush or pee on a tree. So he goes pee just to let him relieve his bladder. We get in the van, I fire up the van, and I go to Safeway, the nearest grocery store, or I don't know, it might not have been Safeway, but it was nearest grocery store. And I go there, I get a little bit of food, and I go to the bathroom, and then I take Malaki on a bike ride. I take him on a bike ride, right? So he goes on his morning bike ride. And then by the time we get back to the van, I fire up the van and go back to the library, and I park, I think maybe in the exact same spot. So I go back in the same spot where I was parked, right in front of the library, because I still, I'm got to use the library. I got to keep working on my video, but the library doesn't open till 9 a.m. So I essentially just had to sit there waiting. I had to burn time that morning. I got up at sunrise, had to take care of Malaki's needs. So I was essentially just burning time until 9 a.m. and then I was going to go back inside the library and resume that whole process. When I went and parked in front of the library, as soon as I parked there, right, I park and I get out of my van, and then I go over to the side door on my van because I was going to take out my bike so I can get my bicycle out of my van, so I just have a little bit more space in the interior. As I'm in the process of taking out the van, or the bike out of the van, a community service officer from Moab shows up out of nowhere. He just shows up, parks directly behind me, and he gets out of his van, and it's this guy. He's not in a police officer uniform. He's just like in pants and like a collared shirt with like a kind of like a 2 or 3 button shirt, buttons right here with a collar that says the Moab Police or Community Service, whatever. But he jumps out of the van, and he's not shaved, he hasn't shaved, so he's got a whole bunch of stubble, and his shirt looks like he's been wearing it for 3 or 4 days without washing it. It's all all loose and frumpy. He gets out and he looks very unprofessional and frumpy and grouchy and stuff. But he comes out, and the first thing he does, he doesn't even say good morning or anything. He's just like, "Did you sleep here last night?" With this really kind of a snarky attitude. "Did you sleep here last night?" I was like, "Yes, I did." And then he starts going into this thing. He didn't really go into it, but he just gives me this brief little talk about how it's illegal to park on the street anywhere in Moab, anywhere in the city limits of Moab, it's illegal to park on the street. And I was just like, okay, okay. And I told him I don't remember exactly what I told him, but it's last night I was using the library until they're closed, but I did tell him I'm planning on using the library. That's my intention as soon as they open. So he didn't really get into it with me because I told him I'm going to the library as soon as they open. So he turns around and hands me this little piece of paper that says no parking on any of the streets, and then he drives off. Really weird. He didn't even want to, he wasn't friendly about it. He didn't want to talk to me about anything. Didn't ask me any questions. He just came at me with a bad attitude. "Did you park here last night? Or did you sleep here last night?" Yeah. I didn't lie to him. Because obviously if you're asking the question, you obviously already know the answer, so why would I lie to him about it? Okay. So that happened. That was kind of just a head scratcher, weird. But, he disappears, and then the library eventually opened. I go in the library, and then I get on YouTube again, and I check. Fortunately, I didn't have to start over the progress of uploading the video. It allowed me to continue where it had left off when the internet connection died the previous day, or for the previous night. So I resumed from 55%, and I just had to sit in the library for 3 hours. I mean, it was still a long time, but I didn't have to do the whole thing. Didn't have to do it all over again. So you guys understand that, all of that was just kind of strange in itself. First, not only was the last video that I shared, the information in the last video, that itself was like kicking a hornet's nest. Everything I shared, the bad guys were not happy about it, obviously. Right, so obviously, if I've said in the past that, I've already established in the past, in Wyoming, when I was making my other videos, that I'm always being followed around, whether it's the people, my friends and supporters who are on my side who are protecting me and keeping the bad people away from me, or if it's the bad guys who are following me, whether it's just somebody, a gang stalking or whatever you want to call it, but they have somebody following me around. They just, they stay at a distance, and all they're doing is watching me. They're watching my behaviors, my patterns, my routines, and then after a while they figure out what I'm usually doing, and then they communicate with other people, however many people there are, and then they start plotting and scheming different things and trying to mess with me in different ways. This is a very deep thing. There are a lot of people involved, people who you would never suspect, but it's a real thing. You just go look up gang stalking, and then you can get on YouTube or BitChute or whatever you call it, and just look up testimonials of people who are also gang stalking victims. You can learn about gang stalking whether by reading articles or by YouTube or other social media platforms. It's a real thing, and it's something that happens to people. I'm one of those people that it's happening to, so I'm aware of all this stuff, and that's kind of where I'm operating from. So I've already established in the past that pretty much every single day I'm being followed around because of who I am and because of my background and my story and this path I've been going down for the past 7 years, considering everybody who I've called out, this entire corrupt system, all of them. I've called out the entire corrupt system, and considering how I'm living my life, where my life is an example of me refusing to get on board with this corrupt system, where, I'm living in my van and I'm a homeless person. I mean, it could get worse. Like, I'm not sleeping on the street. I'm not sleeping in a sleeping bag or a tent on the street, but I have this vehicle, and that's it. I'm in my vehicle. I'm sleeping. I'm parked on the street. I'm parked on the street or out in the woods in random places. So essentially, I'm homeless. I'm a transient, and that's me. I have chosen this lifestyle. Consider I have a bachelor's degree. I've gone to college. I have a bachelor's degree. Was a manager at Costco. I've had law enforcement experience, right? I have all kinds of things. I've traveled the entire United States. I've traveled around the United States. I haven't been to every state. I haven't been to Alaska. I haven't been to Canada or Mexico, but my area of focus has been the United States. That's where I've been focused on. And if you really want to know why, if you want to know the exact reason why I've never gone abroad, never gone to other countries, is because of my purpose in life, why I'm here, my entire reason of existence. It's, through God. God has me here for a specific reason, and the reason why not only was I born and raised in the United States, but the fact that I've never left the United States is because the United States is Babylon. You talk about the Babylon, Babylon, the fall of Babylon, and you talk about biblical story of Babylon. Well, America, the United States is Babylon. And if you really want to know, you can go look up, I learned about this a few weeks ago, but in New York, I believe it's New York City, whether it's a harbor, I don't know, it's like a harbor or somewhere where ships come in, there's some big statue or sign that's been there for a long time, and it says, "Welcome to Babylon," like United States is Babylon. For people who don't know, that's United States is Babylon, so therefore, me being me, my area of focus has been inside of Babylon, where it's been me, even though I've been wanting to go to other countries, it's kind of just been off the table for now. I'm dealing with the shit, where all of the worst of the worst are, as far as good versus evil, and the individuals and all the sick people who belong part of evil. Well, the United States is like the breeding grounds where most of it's coming from. The United States is the hub of everything that's evil in this world. It's where all the evil stuff is being allowed and propagated. So of course I'm here. This is where the main fight is. This is where the central fight is. So it makes sense, right? I'm at a minute left on my clock, so I'm gonna just, now that I'm looking down, I might as well just reset it. But here we go. So hold on. All right. Whoops, sorry, buddy. Oops, I sat on a lucky. Oh, poor guy. So after eventually I got the video uploaded to my YouTube channel, to where I had it scheduled, okay? The video, this last video, not this one, the last one. Eventually when I got that uploaded at the library, I left the library at some point. I left sometime in the afternoon, okay? And then from the library, I ended up driving all the way back not to Dead Horse State Park, but I ended up finding a camping spot out in BLM, just out in the public lands. It was probably about 5 or 6 miles from the state park, but more or less I found a campground area. There's, you know, designated camp spots, but it was out in public land, out on a BLM road. And I'm, you know, 5 miles away from, 5 or 6 miles away from the entrance of the state park. Okay, so I'm just, again, everything that I'm sharing, I'm going somewhere with it. Once the video that, you know, the video that I shared at the that I finally got uploaded at the library, by the time that was done, it was mid, you know, it was early afternoon. It was going into early afternoon, and then by the time I drove that 40 miles back out into the desert to that general area where the state park is, it was approaching middle of the afternoon. So by the time sunset came around, I had found a spot to camp in BLM out in public lands. And that's where I slept. I slept out in public lands and a designated camp spot, and that's where I stayed for the entire night. Okay. That night there was a lightning storm. Nobody messed with me or anything that night. There's not really anything eventful that happened that night. You know, but that, you know, that night a lightning thunderstorm rolled in, and then before sunrise, I ended up, you know, I went to bed. And then the next morning I woke up probably like 2 hours before sunrise. So it was like dark. It was still pretty dark. And there was this huge lightning storm rolling through the desert plain. You know, I was kind of in this pretty cool elevated spot where I could just see for like 50 miles. Just all across this flat desert land with mountains in different areas. But I could see just this lightning thunderstorm rolling through the area, and huge streaks of lightning just traveling across the entire thing, just illuminating the entire area. It was really cool. So my intuition was telling me, when I woke up and saw this, is like, whoa, it'd be really cool to go back to the state park, and maybe if I get lucky, maybe the lighting conditions and the weather will agree where I can go get some really cool pictures. I don't know, we'll just see. You know, something was telling me to go back to the state park and get there before sunrise. You know, it's still, when I woke up, it was completely dark out. So when I leave, right around the time I start leaving the campground, you know, I pull out of my camp spot and start driving through the campground area, and eventually get on the main road again. And then I start driving towards the state park. Around that time, it started raining. And, you know, lightning and thundering. It was almost like directly overhead at one point. It was really cool because I was, you know, I was just getting fired up because of the energy in the air from the lightning and thunder. At some point, you know, I'm driving in the state park. There's an entrance. You know, there's an entrance into the state park where during daytime hours there's a national park ranger who stands there, and you either got to have your pass or you got to pay out like $15 or something. But because it was so early, nobody was there yet. You know, their shift hasn't started, so you can essentially just drive right through. And because I have my state park pass, it's not like I was there to try to avoid paying the fee. Like, no, I got my state park pass, and, you know, there's no gate blocking the road, so you can just drive through. I should be good to go, because if any, you know, a state park ranger comes talking to me, asks me, you know, they know that I came in, and then they're just wanting to collect their fee. Well, I got my pass, it's good to go. Non-issue, right? So I drive into the state park, and as I'm going in, it's like raining, hailing, snowing, and thunder, lightning, and super windy all at the same time. By the time I actually got my parking spot at the end of the road at Dead Horse State Park and turned off the van, there was like, I don't know, ½ inch of like, it was like hail / snow. And then at the same time, like, there was just a lightning thunderstorm passing over. So I just, you know, it was raining way too hard. At some point the snow stopped, and then it was just rain. But it was coming down way too hard to do any type of photography. Even when the sun came up, it just persisted and didn't stop. So I just stayed in the vehicle, pretty much just stayed in the vehicle and just watched out the front windshield, just the lightning storm. And it was really cool. It was actually really neat to see. I recorded a little bit of the drive into the state park as it was coming down, but I didn't really do anything with my camera. I was just kind of sitting there. So where I'm going with this is, you know, I got a spot to just sit, and there was like, I don't know, there was 5, 6 other, when I got there was maybe 3 or 4 cars that were there before me. Like, there was already other people that were there. They were sitting in their vehicles with the exhaust running, and they had their headlights on or whatever. So I wasn't the first person. And then, you know, I'm sitting there, and they're all sitting there, and then other people are coming in and parking. and then some people would leave, and then it's, you know, just this trickle of traffic coming and going. But I just sat there. I was just enjoying the ambiance of the weather, and just because it was unique and different, because I'm not from there, so it's a different experience, and it was pretty peaceful. I mean, even though the weather was crazy, it was pretty cool to watch, and just listening to the rain pounding on the roof of the van. So I'm sitting there. I ended up sitting there for probably about around 2 hours. The sun came up. Literally, the sun came up, right? And I'm just sitting there minding my own business. I was in the back of my van. Just in the back of my van. At that point in time, I was in the back of my van. I think I started watching a couple of YouTube videos, or that's what I was doing. Because I was waiting for it to stop raining and for it kind of clear up. And while I'm, you know, the sun's up finally. The sun finally came up. The weather was finally clearing, and right around the weather was clearing. I'm sitting in my van, and all of a sudden, somebody comes out of nowhere and starts pounding on my door, and so it makes me jump up, and I look out, you know, and this guy's yelling at me that camping is not allowed in the state park, or I forget exactly what he said at the beginning, but he was accusing me of camping, and then like all he did was pound on the door, and then he started walking away, and I was like, well, I'm not camping. I've only been here for a couple hours. You know, I'm thinking this to myself. I've only been here for a couple hours. Like, what's he talking about? So I step up from my bed and go up to the front passenger seat, and like I roll down the window a little bit, and he's still there, kind of. He hadn't walked away, but he was still kind of just like right outside the van a little bit. And I holler at him. I was like, I'm not camping. I've only been here since a little bit before sunrise. And the guy literally turns around. I mean, not physically turns, but like his response, he literally said that, he's like, dude, you've been camping here for the last 3 nights. Don't deny it. He told me not to deny it, and he's like, camping's not allowed here. He's like, I know he says, I know your vehicle, and I know your stickers on the back of your vehicle. You've been here the last 3 nights. More or less. I'm not saying that's what he said verbatim, but that's what he communicated. He accused me of illegally camping in the state park for the past 3 nights, and he said he knew my van and he knew my stickers, and he told me not to deny it. So I responded by telling him, you know, I thought about this, and I was like, what the hell? You know, like, what the F? What's he talking about? Because in my mind, that previous night, that was my first night that I had camped out in the desert by Moab. I had previously been staying in town and around town at different spots each night that I'd been there so far. And that night at the library, you know, that previous night at the library, that was like my second or third night in Moab. So overall, I had only spent 1 night up in the desert, and it wasn't even in the state park. It was out in BLM. So when he's telling me, when he literally accused me of illegally camping in the state park for 3 nights in a row and telling me not to deny it, well, that didn't sit right with me. So I literally said, I'm going to deny it because that's not true, right? And I told him that I told him I camped outside of the state park. I told him I was out in BLM, and then I told him that I had only been in the state park for a couple of hours. And he's like, that's bullshit, that's not true. And he's like, I touched the hood of your van and your engine's cold. So in his mind, because my engine was cold, therefore that means I was camping there all night. But he said, like, my engine's cold. And I was like, yeah, my engine's cold because I've been sitting here. I got here like around half an hour before it even started getting light out. It was still completely dark out when I parked the van. But it was still, I was like, I got here between 6:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. You know, it's winter hours now. It went November, so it doesn't get light until around 7:30. So it doesn't mean I was camping here. You know, it's 6 o'clock, 6:30, 6. But I was like, I've only been here since like 6:30, and it's only like 9 o'clock or 8:30. But he did not. From his perspective, he claimed to not believe me, right? He was accusing me of camping, and then he wouldn't stand there and have a reasonable conversation with me. I was trying to have a reasonable conversation with him, but he wouldn't have it. He just stormed off, and then he went to, like, he was acting like he was just changing the garbage cans around the state park. Like, that's what he supposedly arrived there to do. He was the campground host, so to speak, but I wasn't in the campground. I was just in the public parking area near the very, like, the road go. If you're familiar with Dead Horse Point, if you go look it on the map, the road comes to a dead end and it comes to a loop, and then you can only leave the way you came in. So I was sitting at the very end of the road, essentially where the public parking is, and then the campground area is a completely different spot, and that's not where I was. But the campground host, he drove all the way from the campground all the way to the public parking area, accused me of all of that stuff. And he was essentially telling me, he didn't tell me to leave. He just told me no public park or no camping, and, you know, said all that stuff. But he was essentially telling me to leave. It wasn't like I could just keep sitting there. But I yelled all of that at him. And he had arrived in some golf cart. It was like a golf cart or an ATV, like a 2-passenger ATV. And his wife was with him. His wife was, he ended up going to the left. So if you're looking like from my driver's, from the driver's seat, he went off to my front left, and his wife was over to my right, and she was acting like she was changing other garbage cans. And so I holler at her. I was like, so this is how, like, because I have, you know, I have my Navy stickers in the back. You know, I have not served in the Navy. The Navy stickers and all of that, it has its own story, and the fact of how my first Navy sticker came to be. It has its own story, and that sticker was given to me by, I don't even know what his exact position is, but Rabbit, you know, Rabbit is the one who gave me the Navy sticker when I dropped off Dan at, up in Oregon after Dan and his wife escaped Nevada, and they moved to Oregon, and I dropped it, you know, and they moved up into the mountains, and that's when Rabbit came into the equation, and I essentially left Dan and his wife in the hands of Rabbit. Rabbit is a very unique person. I'm not going to go into his story or anything about his identity, but I'm telling you, I met this guy named Rabbit, and he's an old man, so he's obviously retired. Well, I know he's retired, but he served in the military. He might have been naval intelligence, but he worked with electronics and communications. He worked on aircraft carriers, and I don't know if I met his son. I don't know if it was his son or a friend of his, but he also worked on aircraft carriers, and he was a master of technology and hacking electronics and all kinds of stuff. So I've met these people, and Rabbit is the one who gave me this United States Navy sticker, and when I left Dan and his wife with Rabbit, as you know, when I left, Rabbit gave me that sticker and told me to put it on my vehicle. But I didn't put it on my vehicle at the time because I had a whole lot of shit going on. So I kept that sticker, this United States Navy sticker. Then fast forward to this time, eventually I put this sticker on my new van. You know, again, I'm just kind of shifting gears and kind of just, you don't even, if you're a listener, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but some of you do. Some of you do know what happened back then. Some of you who are on my team know the origins of the sticker. So when I have this United States Navy sticker on there, I'm not claiming to be a United States Navy member. I have not been into the United States Navy. I have not been into the United States military. But a member, I don't know what his rank was or what his position was, but I have a feeling he told me to put it on. And as far as my perspective, as far as I've been operating, the sticker is a shield, and I feel like from everything that's been going on around me and the fact that I'm still alive, it's been a way to let me know that the United States Navy might be having my back. Considering who Rabbit is and his connections, he could literally give military, not just the Navy, but other branches of the military. He has ways to communicate with them and let them know to watch my back and cover me while I'm in this shit. Okay, I'm in some serious stuff right now, and I have a lot of protection. And the whole thing is it's like a shield. He was just letting me know I have a shield around me and gave me the okay to put that on there. And I'm not claiming to be a United States Navy veteran. Although I have claimed to be a veteran, I'm going to go somewhere with this. I have claimed to be a veteran, and I have claimed to be a prisoner of war. And it's just a matter of your perspective on the definition of veteran. Veteran, just the word veteran is not exclusive to the United States military. You got military veterans, you got law enforcement veterans, you got, sports athletes. You got sports athletes, professional athletes, and who have been in professional sports for 5, 7, 9 years. They are considered veterans compared to, rookies, right? And you got anybody that's in a type of profession, or I have somebody that has a lot of experience in something, and they know what they're talking about, and they've been in it for a long time, compared to somebody who's just getting started. That person is a veteran in their area. Considering the path that I've been down, I am a veteran in my own way. Who do I fight for? Well, I fight for God's army, the Lord's army. I am a veteran of the Lord's army. Am I a POW? Yes, I am a POW, because before my arrest, depending on how long you've been aware of me and what you know about and how long you've known about me, if you remember back in 2019, before my arrest, I was trying to get help from law enforcement and the FBI. I literally went to law enforcement and the FBI multiple times trying to, report these people that I'm still trying to get reported, trying to get things done about them. But right now, I caught Jerry Durgan red-handed, so right now he gets to be the one that's in the spotlight. I've said Jerry Durgan, and then everybody connected to him. I've caught one person red-handed, and that's all that's important to me. So everybody that knows about Jerry Durgan, everything he's done, well, everybody connected to him on the dark side, all of them need to be dealt with too. But at the minimum, Jerry Durgan. Okay, so I caught them. But back in 2019, before I had caught Jerry Durgan, I had been trying to get help. Try to get help, and all this stuff. Okay, but it didn't happen. It never happened. Okay, and hold on, I need to check the clock. I got 2 minutes left. Yeah. All right. So, I had to take a break, and I also had to kind of figure out where I was going with this. So, I tried to get help back then, right? So, where I'm talking about with being a prisoner of war, well, back in 2019, I literally went to the police and the FBI, both of them, multiple times. I even tried surrendering a handgun and a case of, a whole military, one of those green military cans full of handgun ammunition, hundreds of rounds. I tried giving my handgun, a whole thing of ammunition, and 2 knives to the FBI, and they would not take it from me. I was trying to report Dan and Kelly and all those other people involved, and I literally went to the FBI and tried giving it to them, and they wouldn't take it. Okay, I didn't just try to turn in the weapons. I also literally wrote a 300-page report / document, whatever you want to call it. I wrote it was like 320 pages, 320-page report, and I submitted it to the Redmond police and the FBI. Back then, when I wrote that thing, when I was arrested September 15th, 2019, I only weighed 120 pounds. I was on the edge of starving. I almost looked like a Holocaust victim, right? So I was on the edge of starving, and at that point in time, I was doing everything in my power to try and get help from the police and the FBI, but they were just turning their back on me. But before I got arrested, it was August or something, I had wrote that 300-page report, and then I went to after I got that report typed on my computer, I was on the edge of being broke. I didn't have much money left, and I ended up going to some print shop. And I had around 6 copies made. And each copy cost me $50 per copy to have the people print 300 pages worth, get it all binded into a thing so it's like a book, something you can open and read it like a book, right? $50 each. So I spent about $300 of the little bit of money I had left. And I went and gave 2 or 3 copies to the Redmond Police Department, and I went and gave 2 copies to the FBI office in Bend, and I kept 1 or 2 copies for myself. Okay. After I submitted that, did not hear one word from either agencies. No word, no feedback, no idea what's going on. Okay. And then, fast forward later, at that point in time, after I turned those in, that's when Kelly and Dan and them found out that I went to the police and submitted that. And that's when I started getting messages on social media where people were threatening my life. I had one person, I feel like I know who it is, but that's not the point. One person tell me they were going to cut off my head and pee on my dead body. And I had another message that's the one that I did share on This is Chess Not Checkers on that episode. But, they're essentially saying, first Joe was somebody that I met in Vegas, and they murdered him. And then they said, then your dog while you watch. So, they've been trying to get my dog. And they have tried in the past, and lately, in this past month, they've already tried again. And that's what I'm planning on talking about. And then they said me, first Joe, then your dog, then you, and then the world. So, they have sent all kinds of threats. Okay. And the only reason why I went and did what I did that led to my arrest was because they were threatening to kill me. These people were threatening to kill me and kill my dog, and the fact that they had murdered Joe and framed his death as a suicide. And then I had also the very thing that set me off, as far as the very reason why I drove all the way to California and committed the felony that I did, and then the very reason, which led to my arrest, the very thing that caused me to go down to California and do what I did was because it was like 2 or 3 days prior, a random person on social media contacted me through a private message, and they told me they were somebody who was inside Kelly's inner circle. This person told me, they said, I can't remember verbatim what they said, but this random person messaged me. They told me that they were inside Kelly's inner circle, and this person was passing on a message letting me know that Kelly's inner circle, whoever else is involved, they had been holding somebody as a hostage/prisoner, and they had just murdered this person and that person's little dog, and they were now currently, they took pictures of it, and they were currently passing these pictures around on social media or their private messaging, whatever platforms they were doing. But this person told me that this happened. And then this message that I received, everything that I've already just described to you in the context of me, I've already gotten death threats. So I've already gotten death threats, and this person's telling me this just happened. So that's kind of let me know, okay, well, I need to take these threats real. And then at the same time, the fact that I have gone to the police multiple times to try to get help. And then I've written a report, a 300-page report, trying to just, if they're not going to listen to me, maybe if they read my report, maybe that'll help them see what's going on, and maybe that'll make them take action and help me. But the fact that didn't work, the report didn't work, and then the fact that I tried to turn in these weapons that Dan had given me and they wouldn't take that didn't work, and the fact that I had just, keep getting these threats, no word from law enforcement, no feedback, nothing, and now I find out a hostage/prisoner has been murdered. Well, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just sit there and wait for nobody to do anything, and therefore I starve out? Or therefore, once I'm in a vulnerable position, they might swoop in and try murdering me or kidnapping me? That was my reason for taking matters into my own hands. I had done all the correct steps as you would expect somebody to take when they're trying to get help. I had taken all the correct steps as I thought needed to happen to try to get people to help me, but nobody was helping me. Nobody was speaking to me. So, which was the very reason. Okay, well, if I'm not gonna just allow them to make me starve out. I'm at 120 pounds, so I went and did it, right? So I went and did it. And then, if you know what I did, okay, you know what I did. But if you don't know what I did, I was planning on going into detail about that night, but that's not the point. I went and did what I did, and then I came all the way back to Oregon, and then within 2 days, I'm the one who got arrested. I got the entire Redmond Police Department. The night shift, I'm not saying their entire police department, I'm saying the night shift, the evening crew, the entire night crew who was on duty at the Redmond Police Department, all of them were on scene when I was taken into custody. I had First there was the person who baited me out. I'm not going to name drop him. But he came, when he called me on the phone, I thought it was just going to be a rational conversation, because I was like, I was asking for somebody from the Redmond Police Department specifically, but I never was allowed to have a conversation with him. But the day that I was arrested, all of a sudden, that individual who was my previous employer, when I was a cadet with the Redmond Police Department from 2006 through 2008, well, from 2007 through 2008, this individual who I had been trying to reach and contact within the Redmond Police Department had always been unavailable, never heard from him. But the day I got arrested, that individual literally called Jerry Durgan's phone, called him on the phone. This is right after I got back from California after starting the fire. So, and then I went and made that YouTube video, just kind of letting people know what happened. I admitted to it and just all that. So that the day that I got arrested, well, it was that individual within the Redmond Police Department who called my father, rather than that person ever calling me or talking to me face to face before I went and committed this crime. That individual was now calling my father on the phone, and right when I was going into the house, that's when, Jerry's on the phone. He says, "You have a call." So he hands me his phone, and I say hello, and then it's the officer who I've been trying to reach, and he says, "Do you know?" He says who it is. He identifies himself, and then he's asked me if I know why he's calling. I said I have a good idea. Oh wait, no, back up. Jerry got the call, and so that individual identifies himself to Jerry. Jerry hands me the phone, and as soon as I say hello, the phone goes dead. Whoever was on the other end, they hung up. Weird. So it's the police, and then so they were calling to see if I was at the house, and I said hello, so therefore, it's a green light. They were planning to get me, and the fact that I answered the phone, okay, so they hung up real quick. Now they're letting all the other officers know that I'm at the house and I'm going to be talking. So as soon as that all happened, Jerry's phone rings again, so I'm the one who answers it, and it's that officer. He identifies himself, and he asks me if I know why he's calling, and I said, I told him I have a pretty good idea why, and I told him, I've been trying to reach you for months, his name, I'm not going to say his name, but I was like, I've been trying to reach you for months. And then I asked him if he had read the report I submitted, and I can't remember what he said. But at some point, he told me that he wanted to speak to me and asked if I'd be willing to meet him out front. And okay, so yeah, no problem. I'll meet you out front. I've been trying to talk to you for all these months. Cool. And so I end up, I'm waiting. So we hang up, and then I'm just waiting in the house for him to either call or show up out front. And then at some point, he calls again and tells me he's having a hard time finding our address, and he asked me if I'll come out front and meet him. Oh yeah, no problem. I'll come out front. I thought it was just going to be him. And we were going to have a rational conversation. But, I step out front and I look, he's like a block away. He's at the end of the block, and he's kind of like lurking around the corner of this house or this apartment complex, a duplex. And he's kind of peeking around the corner, and I'm like, I see him. I'm like, I see you, man. And then as soon as we make eye contact, all of a sudden the Redmond Police Department police cars and officers not in their police cars, they just start coming from all different directions. And some of them have AR-15s, other ones have their handguns, and they swarm me, right? They swarm me, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is what's happening. And because I was on the phone with because I was going to wave at him and thought I was going to have a conversation with him. Well, I have Jerry's phone. Okay, well, they're going to get me. I guess I'm under arrest. It's pretty obvious. I'm not going to run or anything. That's not my intent. I thought we were just going to talk. So I turn around because it's Jerry's phone, and I turn around and walk back towards the front door because when I looked, I saw Jerry standing at the front door looking through the window on the side of the door. And so he's watching it, and we're like, okay, well, let me give you your phone back. So I walk back to the front door and try opening the door, but he had locked it. He locked the door, and I'm like waving. It's like, don't you want your phone back? So that's the only reason why he opened his door, right? Opened the door. So I give him his phone back, and then I turn around and walk back out to the sidewalk, and then I lift up my shirt and spin around to let them know I don't have that handgun. I'll edit that out because I thought it was, the officer because of who I was planning on meeting, and I knew I was going to be having this meeting, I had went and got the handgun and the ammunition and the knives, and I went and just left it on the dining table in my house because, like, you know, the officer, he was going to show up, and I was just going to hand it to him. Here, I don't, like, I haven't committed any crimes with it, you know. I haven't. I mean, even though I made a video and showed the weapons, like, well, I was showing the weapons because I was showing you guys where it came from, letting you guys know I tried giving it to the FBI, and you guys didn't want it. I could have used these weapons, but I didn't, and now, you know, now that this officer who I've been trying to speak to, now that he's here, I'm going to try and give it to him now that he's here. But, you know, it was a whole different thing. It was the whole Redmond Police Department that showed up, and it wasn't a rational civil conversation, you know. So it was obvious once they all showed up, so I didn't have my gun on me. I just let them take me. I didn't fight or anything. And then as soon as that officer came up to me and they started putting me on arrest, I was like, dude, I've been trying to talk to you for like over a month or like 2 months or whatever. And that officer, who was my former employer, he literally said to me, oh, I don't know anything about that. And all that just broke my heart. That broke me heart, man. They sent me, they took me inside and, or they put me in the squad car and hauled me off. And I just, you know, that was when I got separated from my dog for 15 months. Okay. But it was the betrayal, that hurt. And so where am I going with all this? Well, again, you know, when I talk about being a prisoner of war, a POW, and I've said I'm a veteran, anybody who has had issue, I mean, anybody that's followed me around or anybody where I'm currently at who has seen me panhandling with a sign that says veteran POW, well, this is a little bit of a backstory of kind of what happened back then, you know, when I got arrested. You know, my grandpa was chief of police of the very agency that I was trying to go help with. My grandpa was a Navy veteran. My uncle's a Navy veteran. I met this guy named Rabbit who worked with the Navy, and it might have been his son or just one of his friends or somebody he served with, but he was a Navy veteran. And then these people gave me the Navy sticker. So when I'm panhandling, in these past couple weeks, I've panhandled and I've had veteran POW. Well, considering the road I've gone down, I am a veteran in my own way, and just this spiritual battle that I've been going through, so in that own way. And the POW part comes from that. If you guys have access to that report I submitted, you might have it. Some of you might have read it. Some of you might have never even seen it. But that 300-page report I submitted, on the opening page or two, you know, the first 2 pages, I wrote out an outline as far as what this big book is about. And I listed number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, as far as these different things, as far as an outline. And if you have access to that document, number 11 on that report is literally a declaration of war. I said this is a declaration of war against Dan, Kelly, and this other individual who's connected to Kelly, and then everybody who's connected to their thing. I wrote a declaration of war. Okay? So a declaration of war, I wrote that, submitted it, and then I submitted it in like August, and I got arrested like a month and a half later. So a month and a half later, I got arrested by the very people who I'd been trying to get, you know, not just the very people who I was trying to get dealt with. I essentially went into their custody because they got control over the whole thing. They're calling the shots, and it appears the law enforcement and police are just taking orders like puppets on a string. You know, all the officers that are involved with that, they're just doing their jobs like puppets on a string. Whether or not they want to do it, whether or not they're aware, they just followed orders because of the implications and consequences should they not follow orders. Bad things could have really happened if they didn't do what they were told. So it was all just a big show. But what I'm saying is, this sign that I've been going with as far as a veteran POW, well, I'm a veteran POW whether people want to believe it or not. I'm a veteran in spiritual warfare, fighting this wicked evil that's been that's been taking over this world, plaguing this world. I've been fighting against the top guys in that fucking evil. You know, as far as the head guys, that's where my fight has been. I've been fighting against the devil and his highest ranking officers and minions and stuff. I've been fighting against fucking assassins. I've been fighting against assassins and people who are within, you know, people who have sold their souls and are using law enforcement and military. They're using their profession, their occupation as a smokescreen where they're doing these bad things, but there's no way of having any real justice served to the real bad people because you got these people who have sold out within these different departments and organizations who are blocking all of it. They're defending the very people who I've pointed out and who I've confronted face to face. I've confronted Dan, Kelly, and Jerry face to face, all three of them. One at a time, not all at the same times, but each one they've each had their due. I've met them and I've confronted them and told them, you know, I don't need to go into that, but yeah, so, you know, this whole thing where I've just went on this rant about, you know, this last 40 minutes or whatever. So now we're going to backtrack to October 17th, where I'm at Dead Horse State Point, and that guy was yelling at me and accusing me of sleeping at the state park for 3 nights in a row, right? And it wasn't true. And then I got in the argument, right? Well, his wife was over there. She was over there, like, pretending to empty trash. And so as I'm leaving, you know, I got my stickers, and the guy acknowledged my stickers. You know, there's a Navy sticker, and there's 2 Navy stickers and a POW sticker. I'll show you a picture of it. I'll attach it into the video. But so as I'm leaving, I holler out at the lady. My window's down. I was like, "So this is how you treat veterans, huh?" He's like, "This is how you treat veterans? You just make up..." I forget everything I said, but all she did was she just starts walking towards my van, and she just starts yelling, "Be gone! Be gone! Be gone!" And I just started laughing. That's all she did, is just yelling, "Be gone!" So from that point forward, I drove to the entrance of the state park, and I pulled off the road and went and talked to the park ranger at the front. And I was like, first thing I said to her, I was like, "You guys have cameras at this kiosk, right? So you know, like during your off hours when it's dark out, you can see people, you can read the license plates and see the vehicles of people coming and going." She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, what you need?" I was like, "I want to file a complaint against your camp post." And as I told her everything, you know, everything I've shared on this camera, I explained it to her. And I was like, "You need to just get onto your video footage, and you just need to check the timestamps and look at the exact time when I drove past this kiosk into the park. And then you can see that, A, I did not sleep in the campground, and B, the way he treated me, I was like, that guy, he needs to be fired." So I'm out of time on this. Hold on. Check that. Yeah, so I go talk to the person at the kiosk, and I told her, you know, I want to file a report and tell her everything that happens, and then I ask her about the cameras, and she confirms it. And I mean, the whole thing was super bizarre. I don't know what type of follow-up action happened with that. You know, this person literally made up a lie saying I'd been illegally camping there for 3 nights in a row, even though even though that previous night was my first night camping. I wasn't even in the state park. I was 5 miles down in BLM. But this person literally just made it up and pretty much kicked me out of there for no other reason than the possibility. There's that possibility that, you know, the video that I had just uploaded to YouTube, that, you know, that had been creating issues, and this individual had been contacted by somebody, and him and his wife literally drove from the campground to try fucking with me in a different way, because everybody who's involved with this evil racket, you know, however big this web is, there are people all over the United States who are all connected to it. You know, even where I'm at now in Arizona, people are all connected to it. But back in Moab, after I shared that video and called out these bad people and have challenged them and provoked them, well, it didn't take them long to do something. First, there was the guy at the library who got angry at me for parking outside the library, you know, while I was trying to get the video uploaded. That community service officer, he wasn't even a real police officer, he was a community service officer, and that's all his job is to enforce city ordinances. You know, that's pretty much the foundation of the community service officer's job. So that was why that guy showed up, telling me, you know, getting on my butt about parking outside the library. Well, whatever. But then that following morning, it was the campground host up near the state park, and it's the same shit. But this time he was accusing me of things that didn't even happen. And I put, you know, I was able to call him out on it, because I could literally, well, if everybody got cameras everywhere, and you guys keep using, you know, cameras are being used against me, well, I'm going to use it against you guys too. I showed up before sunrise between 6:30 and 7, and I literally told the the park ranger, it was some young woman that was working at the kiosk at the entrance. I was like, I filed my complaint about them, and I was like, you guys can literally find the truth to this by loading up your video surveillance footage, and then just go back to check the time frame between 6:30 and 7, and you'll see what time I came into the park. So you'll know I didn't sleep in there last night. I just drove from another spot, wanted to get here before sunrise. So kind of laid that out there. So there, that happened that day. So that would be October 17th, right? So October 17th, all of that went down. So that happened in the morning. So being frustrated and annoyed with that situation, I just got kicked out of the state park for no reason, and it was only like 9:30, 10, I don't know, 8, but it was probably between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. And I was frustrated, and I didn't feel like driving all the way down to Moab, go back down to town. I didn't feel like getting kicked out of the entire general vicinity on account of one negative person who's lying. So what I did, I just left the state park, and I literally drove back to the very same spot that I had slept that night. I ended up just hanging out there all day. I just stayed in that camp spot and just hung out there all day, and that's where I slept. I slept there that night, and that's where I stayed until the following morning, and then the following morning I went back down into Moab. But that night, my second night in that camping spot, some crazy shit went down, where I'm not really going to go into detail about everything, but I'm just going to highlight the big part, which was it had gotten dark. It had been dark for probably 45 minutes or an hour, and then, I don't know, between a quarter mile, a half a mile away, where the direction I was parked, it would be, I don't know, it was somewhere off to this direction from the direction, the van's, the driver is right this way, so it was behind me at like my 7 or 8 o'clock. But somebody with either semi-automatic rifle or an automatic rifle, somebody just started opening fire. Just I don't even know how many rounds, probably like 20, 30 rounds, just bang, 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 or whatever. And it was just not far away, a lot of gunfire. And then at a little bit later, not much longer, 15, 20 minutes later, like I said before, I was kind of parked on this little bit of an elevated position where it was kind of like a hillside from where I was parked, and then it was just all flat, so I could see quite a ways. And I could see the headlights, and I could hear ATVs, like multiple ATVs, cruising through the desert, cross country or on a road, I have no idea. But I could see these ATVs going through the trees, and then all of a sudden a lot more gunfire, more gunshots. They were probably a mile and 3/4 of a mile away. They were a little ways away, but they were close enough for me to hear and just be able to hear the distinct sound of ATVs, and then the obvious sound of gunshots. So beyond that, I don't know what was going on, but I was just holding, I'm used to this type of stuff, these types of things. It's not the first time this has happened. This has happened multiple times, and I'm quite aware that, there's shit going on around me, and I have faith in God, and I've learned enough to know what's going on. It's spiritual warfare, and I'm in the middle of it, and whatever those gunshots were, I don't know who was shooting, and I don't know who they're shooting at. I don't know how many people died, or if any people died, or a bunch of people died. I just know my instructions when these types of things happen. My instructions, as far as the energy that comes into me and tells me, it doesn't tell me exactly what's going on, but it tells me just sit tight. There's a lot of shit going on around you. Do not run. Just sit tight, listen, and observe. And so when this type of stuff happens, you've heard some of my other stories in my other videos. When these things are happening, my instructions have been and continue to be, when these things happen, just sit tight in your van, allow whoever's out there, allow it all to happen, and just observe and listen. And if you can fall asleep, let it all settle down. Eventually, if it settles down, it'll settle down, and then you can try and fall asleep, and then you just got to keep going forward the next day. There's this big spiritual fight that I know is happening. I know, literally, I hear gunshots regularly. It's not just every once in a while. Every once in a while, sometimes I just hear a single gunshot, or sometimes I hear a bunch of gunshots in the distance wherever I'm at, and I don't know what the fuck's going on. but my intuition's telling me just sit tight, listen, observe, and don't be afraid. So whatever it is, I don't know. But that night, there was 2 separate instances. First, there was somebody to my left shooting a bunch, and then all of a sudden there was ATVs and stuff zipping around, and I could see their lights. All I could see was their headlights, and then a bunch of gunshots. Beyond that, no idea. So that happened the same day as the incident that went down in Dead Horse State Point, where that campground host was accusing me of things that didn't happen and then was kicking me out. So that's a bunch of weird stuff, okay? So that's kind of like a conclusion on that part. And one last thing, you know, I think it was the next day. No, it wasn't the next day. I ended up leaving Moab. I left Moab, I think like 2 or 3 days later. I have more to talk about, but before we kind of shift gears, as far as what happened at Dead Horse Point with that camp host guy, and then I filed my report. Well, as a one-up on him, just because he rubbed me wrong, just kind of because it was pretty offensive being accused of things that weren't even true, and then everything that happened. Well, just to kind of one-up him, I went and got on Google Maps, right? I got on Google Maps, and if you go to Google Maps and you type in Dead Horse State Park, and you go to the reviews, well, you can find my review. I wrote a review based off what happened, and I left a couple pictures. I took a few, nice pictures. They're not negative pictures, but I posted a few pictures, and then I wrote a really long review explaining these things. So I might go back and screen grab that, and I might attach it into this video so you guys can look at it. But yeah, I called out that person on Google Maps, leaving a review on the state park. So that was a thing. And then the only other real thing that really stands out during my time in Moab, there was this one time I can't remember. This might have happened a few days prior, before I got this video, or I can't remember. Sometimes time kind of blends together. But during my time in Moab, with exception to what I've told you, there was this other time where I was taking Malaki on a bike ride through Moab in town. Like, I found a pretty cool bike route through downtown. Like, it was like a 2 mile one way, a mile and a half one way, and a mile and a half back. So I could do this route and get Malaki like anywhere between 3 and 3.5 miles. Well, I stayed in Moab for, I think, like 7 days total, or not 7, like 9 days total, the Moab area. And with exception to those 2 nights, I slept out in the desert. The rest of the time I was sleeping in Moab. And I was creating kind of a small routine for myself, where I was taking Malaki for a bike ride in the morning at sunrise, and then close to sunset, right before the sun goes down. Well, I had done this route a number of times, so if you just think, okay, if the bad guys are watching you, and they know my route, and they know around the time that I take Malaki for a bike ride. So if you're going to put people on my path and try and set me up, whatever that might be, to try to have somebody set me up. Okay, well, where I'm going with this is, one of those days I was riding Malaki. I had done about, if you think about the bike ride, it's about 3 miles. Well, I had done about 2 miles, and I was on my way back to the van. We had about a mile left to go. We were going through this little park area, and all of a sudden, this young woman just comes out of nowhere, just from this other path, and she's like walking really fast, like she's on a mission, like she has an assignment to get ahead of me. Like somebody had assigned her, people have been following me, and they know when I'm coming, and they can tell her when she needs to start walking. It's somebody that's faking it. She's just it's all orchestrated, it's fake. Well, this woman comes out of nowhere, this young woman, and she's considering it's November, or it's beginning of November, or no, towards the end of October this time. So temperatures kind of cooling down. People are starting to put on autumn clothes. Well, this woman comes out of nowhere, and she's wearing some skimpy ass clothes, like women wear when they exercise. They wear those tight spandex shorts and a tight spandex sports bra, and then they go run out in public, where it's like, it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a guy or a woman. You see this person, it's somebody who's obviously craving attention. It has nothing to do with exercising. It's somebody that's provocatively dressed that way to get you to stare at her. Okay. as soon as I see this woman cross in front of me, and it's obvious that she's trying to get ahead of me a little ways. Well, because I'm aware of all these things happening, I'm not falling for it. Like, I'm not staring at her, oogling at her. I'm not staring at her butt or her legs or thinking anything. I'm just kind of just focused on my thing, right? Well, she's walking this little dog. Okay, so she's walking this little dog, and she's acting like she's on a walk, right? And she's ahead of me, and I have to pass her. I have to go past her to keep continuing on my route. Well, I'm ignoring her, and I'm focused on what I'm doing to get around her, trying to get Malaki. Well, Malaki's pretty good with dogs, but for some reason, as soon as we get past him, Malaki, for whatever reason, he just like goes back like he smelled something. So what I'm thinking is, maybe this dog had some type of pheromone sprayed on it, or this dog was in heat. Malaki's not fixed, and I don't know, imagine this dog might be a female, and the dog might be in heat, or they spray something on the dog that is some type of pheromone that distracts a male dog or gets the male dog's attention. But if, when we were initially passing, I'm on my bicycle, so I got Malaki on the leash in one hand, and Malaki was initially just going to go past him like he does any person, but he caught a whiff of something, and he just hooked a hard thing, and the leash caught my handlebars, and I went over the top of my handlebars, and I crashed pretty hard, right, like on the sidewalk. Like, I landed on my wrist, and fortunately, I had a little bit of blood, but other than that, I could have broke my wrist. Anything I could have hit my head. Anything could have happened, but immediately after that happened, I get up right away. She's like, "Oh, are you okay?" Like, acting this thing, like it's all this orchestrated thing. Whatever it would have evolved to had I not been aware of it. If they're trying to set me up on some, like it's a movie, it's love at first sight type of thing. Like, oh, if I broke my wrist and she has to take me to the hospital, and then, then all of a sudden she tells me her name and she acts interested, and all of a sudden we're dating, like it's all just this fake thing, right? I'm like, she asks, like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I tell her it's happened before, and I just get on my bike and I keep riding, right? But as soon as I get away from her, immediately, like, this energy starts hitting me, telling me that was not an accident, that was on purpose. Like, that what just happened, that was not just a random thing, that was a setup thing, and whoever it was that set it up, they were trying to set me up and try and get me injured, because God forbid I fucking break my wrist or, hit my head and get in a concussion or whatever. That was another attempt. So all of these things happen in just a matter of a few days, right? Okay, so between all of these things, everything I've described about as far as my time in Moab, at some point in time, my intuition was telling me that the people in Moab, there's a lot of people in Moab that don't want me there. Like, they don't want me in there. They want me gone. For whatever reason, the bad people, the sellouts, people that are in control of Moab, who essentially own Moab, and, they have it locked down as if it's their territory. The big players in Moab, well, they wanted me gone because nothing that they were trying was working, and I was creating problems. So this energy, nobody ever told me I had to leave, but this energy was telling me it's time to leave Moab. I gotta leave, okay? Gotta get out of there. So it was like around day 9, I ended up leaving Moab, just fire up the van, and headed towards Monument Valley. Wait, no, not Monument Valley. I went to Valley of the Gods. There was a place called Valley of the Gods. And it was like about a 2-hour drive, heading south towards Valley of the Gods, which is really close to the Utah-Arizona border. I need to check the clock. 3 minutes. And I feel like I'm gonna take a break right now. I've been talking for a while, and my throat's kind of raspy. And now that we've made it through this section, I will continue forward. I'm probably not going to talk anymore today, so I will continue recording tomorrow, and then hopefully I can get it all done tomorrow and then uploaded. Sometime. Tomorrow's Thursday, the 14th, so hopefully I can get it uploaded sometime tomorrow or by Friday. That's my goal, but it might not. It might be Saturday. We'll see. Eventually, this will reach you. But otherwise, have a good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and just make sure you're staying safe and staying vigilant as far as your own situation. There's a lot left to talk about, and I just hope by the time we reach the end of it that you'll have a pretty good grasp of what the hell's going on. Okay, so have a good one.